I'm Melinda Elmer with Century 21 Masters in the Elmer team. Today here with special guest Diana Martinez from the law offices of Diana Martinez. We talk a lot about divorce around here, and Diana is a mediator. So I thought I wanted to bring her in today and talk a little bit about when in mediation cases that we see the most conflict, especially or where things start to fall apart, especially around the real estate piece. I know some of the common solutions are either sell the house or, do a buyout, things like that. What do you see as kind of the most conflict around that in a mediation case?
Well, it's really a couple of things. It's the emotional ties to the house, to the family home especially, but even vacation homes.
Sure.
This is where we vacationed with our kids when we were younger. And it's fear based on either lack of knowledge or lack of information. So not knowing what's going to happen when that house gets sold. And the way it shows up is oftentimes towards the end when the decision has to be made. You've got a wildly fluctuating market sometimes, or interest rates are climbing up, and you've got one parent who wants to sell like last month and the other who cannot make a decision. And we have to figure out what's going on, what's fueling that inability to say yes. And so we'll bring in a financial professional, we'll bring in a divorce real estate expert who can educate us to market, because there might be some other options out there that satisfy the financial issues that are driving the fear. Or we'll bring in a mental health professional, a therapist who is skilled in mediation and collaborative divorce, and they'll come in and figure out what are the fears that are driving this person. Where is the emotional tie and how do we work with that? My most successful mediations on that issue, they've come up with some really creative options that reduce the taxes, reduce the cost to a point that they more than paid for the divorce process itself,
Right.
but also created something that worked for that family. Not, well, this is what I could get under the law. It was, what does your family need?
Right.
That's so unique, right?
Right. And that's what I love to be a resource for people is in the divorce space, is helping them understand what some of those options are and what the real true value of the home is. Because unfortunately, I've seen a lot of people, attorneys included, where they go online and look at Zillow and that's the value. And even Zillow itself says it's off by as much as 10%.
Right.
And I've seen it be even more, right? So I think it's really important that people bring in those resources even when they're going through a mediation, and not just rely on their family and friends for the background information to help get them those resources.
So two really important pieces there is the information may be off.
Right.
So when you don't know, you don't have accurate, solid information, and you're relying on Zillow, for example, you're going to get a huge obstacle because one person is saying it's worth X and the other person is saying, no, it's totally not.
Right.
And then the other piece to that is that emotional tie again, is if you're not dealing with that. So you've got an unrealistic expectation either as to law or as to finance, right? The value.
Right.
And then that emotional piece, we cannot get people to move, and you are going to end up in court. And then your only option is what a judge deems appropriate under the law. Because the judge is tied, their hands are tied.
And the judge can force you to sell the house.
Even if it ultimately in the long run is not the best thing for you and your family.
Correct.
Even if it is at a huge loss, or if you're going to suffer huge capital gains taxes.
Right.
There's so many other options that you don't explore if you're thinking black and white. It's my way or the highway kind of thinking.
Right.
That's not going to get you where you want to be.
So if you come into that mediation with that open mind of let's look at all the options, see what the best one might be, this is a really good way to do it.
Yeah, 100%.
So if somebody has any questions they want to reach out to you, where do they find you?
So you can call my office and speak to my paralegal, and she'll set you up for a free 15-minute introductory call so we can see if you're a good fit for us, or you can ask for time specifically with me and we'll go into more of the details of your case. I can be reached at 562-367-8001, or you can email me at dianam@dlmartinezlaw.com.
Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions for me, you can reach out to me at 316-2915 or melinda@theelmerteam.com. Please feel free to forward and share this with any of your friends who may need it.